playing a war battle, and Lisa pops into this moment and kind of calms them down about playing war. And Lisa says, Cornelius, hasn't your father explained to you that war isn't a game except a pear-shaped old general sticking colored pins and maps 3,000 miles from behind the firing line? Yes, mother. And hasn't he forbidden you from playing with guns or to make a game of killing? Yes, mother. Then you'll stop it. And then we jump to, and then McDonald and basically Caesar come into the house, and McDonald addresses, the situation with Aldo and Caesar by saying, you handle that very adroitly, Caesar. And Caesar says, I wish I'd been educated to be a ruler. And McDonald brings up Armando, didn't Armando, and then has a paragraph about Armando before mentioning his parents.
Wow. How?
I can see why the war scene was cut out. It wouldn't really have made any sense to have the kids playing at this moment war. It makes more sense to me if it had happened someplace else, not after this moment. That would have been a weird transition from that rundown to kids playing war.
Yeah, I would have liked, though, to insert that theme early on.
Right.
Knowing where this story is going to go. And here comes the moment where I'll once again say, for those of you maybe who are joining in, Sean's never seen this movie. Prior to watching this 1 minute time, Richard has, I have, we know where it's going. Sean does not.
Nope.
But with the themes that are already there, I would have liked a way to put that in, but I don't disagree with you that probably belongs somewhere else.
We complained about the montage at the beginning. What if it had been two children playing war, two chimps playing war, and Lisa stopping it, and then we have Aldo abruptly riding into town and being aggressive and giving us that parallel between that and then the civilized Virgil and Caesar.
Or even Aldo riding in and encouraging them to play more war, telling them how they need to do it properly.
Yeah.
I was just sitting there thinking kind of along with Sean. I was like, how interesting would that have been if it was Aldo teaching the children war games? Encouraging those kind of things that I think probably come instinctively somewhat to a human being. I remember playing with guns as a kid and shooting each other, bang, bang.
Oh, yeah.
It might have been interesting to see that he was warmongering. I'm sorry.
Then you have Lisa and Caesar, or one of the two of them having the conversation about not playing war and what it means. And then we get the classroom scene where, Cornelius has to rise above this tension in this moment. And we see the kind of pulling back of that where Aldo goes off in a different direction and Cornelius makes decisions, and it would set some stuff up.
Man, they just need to take the three of us, build a time machine so we could write this script and not be... let's see, what year was this? Did this come out so that I can say this properly?
73.
73. So I'd have been 6 at that time. We might have had a problem trying to write it because,
Your shit's old.
That's right. My shit is old. But I wish these things had come in, and I don't want to beat that drum again about studio interference and pushing those things. But man, such a good story that could have been better.
So when McDonald starts talking, or when Caesar starts talking about his parents, John, you'd asked if McDonald had known. So that was the center. The structure. They walk into the house, and McDonald tells him he handled it very adroitly. And McDonald goes, "Didn't Armando?" And Caesar is supposed to say, "My dear dead human foster father," which is a lot of words.
Yeah, it is.
Again, a lot of
I know. My dear dead human foster father who was underweight and used to have, STDs. I don't know.
I mean, Katie's parents have passed away, but she never goes, "Oh, my dear departed mother."
Exactly.
Instead, that's where you put a hand to your heart and say, "I miss him so." That's how you say that. But amongst friends, I miss him. I wish he were here. Anything like that.
He says, when he wasn't training me to be a bareback rider in a circus, he taught me the sum of all human virtues, which is that we must love one another or die. The lion tamer was allowed to crack the whip, his whip, provided he didn't whip the lion. McDonald adds, if the lion attacked the tamer, and Caesar goes, the lion never did. That's how I thought it would be in the world outside. If my mother and father, whom I was too young to remember, had only lived, they might have taught me whether it was right to kill an evil so that good will prevail. But what I can understand why they were taking this out, because the writers were suggesting that it was okay almost for animals like themselves to be tamed and whipped, so
Yeah.
long as they understood their place. What a weird
It's
setup.
almost it's like if the police, their whole job, the only thing they could do is come up to you and say, stop, and that's about the extent of their power. But the people that they're going on to say, all right, I won't attack you.
Right, but it definitely put the ape slavery situation in a different context when you had that statement
Yeah.
about what Armando taught him.
I already,
Yeah, that's
I, al-
and it's a lot of stuff we don't need about him bareback riding. Heyo.
Yeah,
well, I think that some stuff in there would be nice. The insertion of Armando is that need once again to kind of go, hey, in case you don't know who Armando was, well, Armando's not important to this scene, to this movie
he's
at this
not in
point
this movie
at all. To an extent, this idea that I wish I'd known my parents. It's a true thing that he would experience, but it's so stilted in the way that they sort of drop this in that even when we get to the question, is it right to kill evil so good will prevail? That's that paradoxical kind of thing that we've seen 1,000 times in 1,000 different presentations. And it's a great question to explore. I don't know that this movie explores that.
I don't know because I'm only 16 minutes in.
Right. But as I listened to that, I really thought, hey, and I love that question. I love that concept. I don't know that it ever completely addresses that situation. So I wanted to toss that out because at the end of the movie, let's ask ourselves the question. Usually when you drop a question like this in those early, prior to about 30 minutes into a movie, that's what that movie is asking to explore.
so I'm gonna dropping Armando in this particular conversation prior to mentioning his parents works, and I'm gonna tell you why I think
Okay.
it does, is because we talked about this being written as a kids movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you establish the family base with Lisa and Caesar and Cornelius, right, this family thing, the next thing a common theme that you would see in children's movies is that the child at the beginning or through the movie the adult or the child becomes an orphan. So we're not establishing the father figure of Armando. We're jumping to the fact that Caesar does not know his parents. And this is a very strong theme among a lot of kids' movies, right? The orphan,
You
the
got
loss of the
Bambi, all
parents.
those kind of things like that, right?
Right. So they dropped Armando so they could specifically mention, oh, by the way, I don't know my mother and father. So what's the lesson that we're going to learn here from him not knowing his mother and father?
So
What's the journey we're
shouldn't
gonna
that
go
have
on?
been in the flashback at the top? Shouldn't that be where we learn this kind of information so that we then
Right.
can address those things?
Right. So that the audience, whether they're kids or adults, can kind of know who this character is and where his moral background comes from.
Right.
Well, we did get a little bit of flashback and seeing his parents.
A little bit.
True.
Yeah.
Murder.
Splat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we have a shot of Armando in there? It's been so long since we've looked at
No,
that.
it was just
I don't think so.
no. It was all his parents, and then the torture scenes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we never really got an Armando in the clip sequence.
You
But
could
just
have.
dropping him
We
entirely.
didn't get really anybody except for the apes.
You could so easily have had a moment where Zero was holding the infant, and then it could have been Armando at the circus looking at the baby chimp with the little necklace on. You could have had those moments where, a child of many parents, a child of both human and ape, in that way, because he's raised by a human. I think, especially when you're giving a lawgiver type recitation on the world and what we're about to teach you, that might have been a really good place to put that, I think.
Yeah, so maybe the editor at this point was not just cutting out Armando because it didn't make sense for the scene.
Yeah.
Maybe they had already put the clip montage together and just decided he was going to be irrelevant to the movie. It might have been a choice.
Maybe they thought it was confusing. If you've
Or-
not seen it, how
or
could he
they
have a
didn't want to
human
pay money to have to reuse his footage.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's about it. Does anyone have anything else?
No, I think we may be able to talk about more of Armando tomorrow, but right now, no.
Awesome. Well, that's 1 minute after how many weeks away that, hey, not too many stumbles. We did pretty good. So I think we'll come back for another minute tomorrow. What do you guys think?
I think so.
Hey, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's
All right.
do it.
For Richard and Sean, I'm Todd. Everyone have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
The minute of the apes.